This is Les Lanham, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Can you feature that awful creature? Can you feature that ugly creature?
Ed Robertson with a reminder that we'll play part 2 of our conversation with Paul Myers. Paul Myers, author of John Candy, A Life in Comedy, in our second hour. We hope you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, and to dovetail on the segment we did earlier this hour with Phil Grice about the career of John Zachary, we will bring you part 2 of our special roundtable discussion with Joseph Dougherty, Tony Figueroa, and Dan Farren about some of our favorite local TV horror movie hosts from yesteryear. Local TV horror movie hosts, a staple of television, beginning in the late 1950s and continuing through the 60s, 70s, up until the advent of cable television. As we pick up the conversation, we're going to talk about one of my favorite local TV horror movie hosts, Bob Wilkins, the host of Creature Features on KTVU Oakland-San Francisco throughout the 1970s. What made Bob Wilkins unique, from characters like Zachary and Chilly Billy Cardilli and Sir Graves Ghastly, in that he was the first, if not the only, local TV horror movie host who didn't dress up in character.
Right.
Because he didn't have to. Because he was pretty... Joseph Dougherty not only came up with the concept for today's roundtable discussion, he also came up with our catchphrase, in that local horror movie host made it possible for the least cool kids in school to be cool because this is someone they could relate to. Bob Wilkins took that to another level. Bob Wilkins looked like an accountant. He was, he was one of those local TV, he wrote ad copy and produced commercials for a local station in Sacramento, California, and he was the general factotum. He would host the local, he would fill in as the local host of the equivalent of Dialing for Dollars and whatnot. And he proved to be such a popular on-air personality that KCRA, which was the local NBC affiliate in Sacramento at the time, gave him his own time slot, 11:30 Saturday night, and they called it the Bob Wilkins Show, but basically he showed bad horror movies.
But did he choose the movies? See, he's the, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but this is the man whose slogan was "Save America, watch horror movies."
Yeah, keep America.
That was Bob Wilkins.
Keep America strong, watch horror movies.
Keep America strong.
Yeah, and I don't recall whether he picked the movies or not, but one of his trademarks was he would say stuff like, "Tonight's movie is The Creeping Terror. It is one of the worst movies ever made. Don't watch the movie. Instead, come back 35 minutes later. We will bring you part 1 of our interview with George Lucas. Or we will bring you part 1 of our interview with Leonard Nimoy." And 9 times out of 10, you would watch The Creeping Terror because you knew there was going to be a payoff at 12:15.
And then he would notarize your will.
That's right.
But
he really did attract. Vincent Price was on it. Christopher Lee is on there.
Oh, yeah.
Has anybody seen the documentary on him?
Yes. It is available on YouTube, and I believe a compilation of some of his interviews and some of his creature feature in-between segments are available on DVD in various forms. But the other thing about Bob Wilkins is he looked like the least cool kid in school grown up. He had these thick, horn-rimmed, black Clark Kent type of glasses. You know,
he felt like a mix between a Greenwich Village poet and Steve Allen.
Yeah, and he was very soft-spoken. He was very, very soft-spoken, but he had a razor-sharp, dry sense of humor. And what made him cool was the fact he was always smoking cigars on camera. You know, and the fact that KTVU, which was the Oakland station that he eventually brought what became known as Creature Features to in 1971. KTVU is one of the stations that is credited for the revival of interest in Star Trek in the early 1970s, and the Star Trek conventions and so forth, and eventually Star Trek the motion picture and Star Wars and all of that. Tony.
I used to have relatives in Sunnyvale. and I would go spend like my Easter vacation there. And I remember my cousin was like, "Oh, watch this," and there would be like this darkened room, and a man would come and light one single candle, and of course the entire room lit up. He's like, "Wait, watch the room light up," and the whole thing. And I think there was like a whole Godzilla festival at the time during Easter vacation, because I saw a lot of Godzilla when I was in Sunnyvale. But I just remember him saying, watch how the room lights up as soon as he lights that one tiny candle.
When the show was...
I always heard, Godzilla really has a lot to do with the New Testament.
Said nobody ever.
Nobody ever. But I love, and Godzilla movies are, just for the dubbing alone, they're going to hurt you. You're going to hurt.
Two more points about Wilkins. The irony is he never dressed up when he hosted Creature Features. But he did, at the height of his popularity with the KTVU, he did host a local weekday children's show called Captain Cosmic, in which he would show Ultraman from Japan. He would show Captain Scarlet and the Mysterions from Jerry Anderson. He would show Flash Gordon with Buster Crabbe, but he dressed up as a superhero named Captain Cosmic, and he had a sidekick called 2T2, which was the local equivalent of R2D2. So he did that 5 days a week, and everyone knew it was Bob Wilkins, but so he consented to doing that. So that was kind of cool.
But I can see if he wore like an aluminum suit and came in and said he was a space accountant. He was going to audit the space station.
Well, his costume of Captain Cosmic was so cheap it might have well been made out of aluminum. But the other thing, Dan, you mentioned Chili Billy was one of the inspirations. Was one of the characters that inspired George Romero to do the original Night of the Living Dead. Bob Wilkins on Creature Features in early 1972 was the first local station to air Night of the Living Dead on television.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But you know what? What I just realized who Bob Wilkins looks like? He looks like the first guy who gets killed. They're coming to get you, Barbara. It's Bob Wilkins.
Yeah, you talk to anybody who was raised in Northern California, who's around my age or whatever. I can walk out to somebody on the street from San Francisco and say Bob Wilkins, and they'll go, "Oh." Yeah. Like that, because they all grew up with him. He also he was like a great vaudevillian comedian, because that cigar was a punctuation part.
Yeah.
Whenever he was done saying something, now take it out, do that kind of stuff. And he was just brilliant at what he did. And like I said, I recommend, if you can find, like I said, on YouTube, the documentary. It's really, he spent the end of there's a clip at the end that my wife and I love, where he's interviewing two actors who are playing Hunts Hall and playing the Bowery Boys. Yeah, and they're great. They're completely in character. They play it, and who else would take something that's that obscure, even then that obscure, to do it? And by the way, I do own every Bowery Boys movie. And, my wife would, and we watched them all. And my wife would say, as she always does, I say, "I have that." She goes, "Of course you do." But
I have I'm in the process of writing something, and I've had to come up with the names of non-existent Bowery Boys movies.
Oh,
and I have two. One I like, the other I'm crazy about. One is Arabian Nights Knockout.
Good, that's very good.
And Flip Me That Flying Saucer.
Yeah, those are both very, very good.
Is this something that will come? Is this something that will come soon from Fayetteville Mafia Press?
No, this is. I'm busy now, continuing in my later life writing plays.
Oh, okay.
And so God knows when. But yes, there was a question. Yes, there's an actress in it who has appeared in Bowery Boys movies and Allied Artists.
Joe Dougherty, the author of the award-winning play Chester Bailey,
the first Cylinder,
breakout science fiction novel in the tradition of Kurt Vonnegut, Ray Bradbury, and H.G. Wells.
While his other books include Comfort and Joy, an appreciation of the life and movies of Joy Lansing, and Rod Serling at 100, an appreciation of the life and work of Rod Serling. Rod Serling at 100, Comfort and Joy, The First Cylinder, and Joe's other book, A Screenwriter's Companion, all available wherever books are sold through Fayetteville Mafia Press as well as Amazon.com.
Joe Dougherty, Dan Farren, Tony Figueroa with us. We are having fun talking about some of our favorite horror movie hosts, characters such as John Zachary, Bob Wilkins, Mr. T. Not that Mr. T. Mr. T.
I was going to say, between,
Mr. T.
I
from
pity the fool who comes in my graveyard.
Yes, from the Cleveland local
Yes,
Cleveland
I know he's
television.
still yeah.
As well as Morgus the Magnificent, Mona Lisa from San Diego, Chili Billy Cardilli from Pittsburgh, and a few others that we've mentioned.
Dan, I think you mentioned having the opportunity to meet some of your favorite local TV horror hosts one way or another. I met Bob Wilkins very briefly. This is about 20 years ago. He was doing a Star Trek convention in San Francisco. This is around the time my book, The Ethics of Star Trek, came out, and happenstance, Bob Wilkins and John Stanley. John Stanley was the local journalist who ended up taking over Creature Features on Channel 2 after Bob Wilkins stepped down to run his ad agency. John Stanley and Bob Wilkins were my table neighbors at the. I was selling books at one table, and they were next to us. And at an opportune time, I said hello, and he was quiet. He was friendly. He was quiet. I later learned, sometime after the convention, that he was showing. One of the reasons why he was quiet was he was beginning to exhibit signs of Alzheimer's, and it was not too long after that he retired from doing public appearances. But like I said, this is someone who was very much a part of my growing up years, and one of the first reasons why I had a chance to stay up late at night.
And we'll pick up that thread on the other side of the break.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode. Joseph Dougherty, Dan Farren, and Tony Figueroa are with us as we look back at our favorite horror movie hosts from local television from the 60s and 70s. We'll carry over our conversation into our second hour. Then we'll play part two of our conversation with Paul Myers, author of John Candy, A Life in Comedy. All that more when we come back for hour number 2 of TV Confidential. Please stay with us.